Well, good morning and welcome to Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1.
Yes, it is Thursday, March 30th, and guess what?
Easter.
We've just been informed that the Easter holidays are just around the corner. It's tomorrow. So I'd say parents are delighted, frantically ringing grandparents going, how are you? You're around for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Can you help us? Could you help us?
A lot of people going away. Go away for Easter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is this your way of saying, lads, I'm going away for Easter?
No, I wish I was.
If you spot him in a hotel, if you see him in the wild in his natural habitat over the next 2 weeks, give me a text.
Later this hour, do you need to reset your relationship with work? Well, we're going to be meeting leading career psychologist Sinead Brady about how to get the right work-life balance. Myrn has it. No work. All life.
All life.
All life. Is this something you struggle with? Text us now on 089 611 111.
Sinead was so interesting the last time she was on. It was kind of at the start of the year when you're talking about all those things and how to set goals for the year. She was brilliant. So if you do have a question for her, make sure that you get them in. Also, if you're planning a trip to the cinema this weekend, we're going to be taking a look at the new version of the fantasy adventure Dungeons and Dragons. It stars Chris Pine and my favourite, Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant.
Love
He's just
him.
wonderful, isn't he?
He's a curmudgeon. He's funny. I thought that interview that everyone slagged, I was like, he's being funny. Like, he was being
trying, yeah.
But he wasn't. He's just the way
but
he is.
He's great.
Like,
he's sort of reinvented himself, hasn't he? In a different way. Like, he's just...
He just
it's great
takes the mickey out of himself. Yeah,
exactly. Also, we're going to be finding out about gut health. What it is, how it can affect our body. That's later on.
Yes. Blood-brain or gut-brain axis. All of that kind of stuff. And we have missed him.
He's
so
back.
much. I think you've missed him as well. Derek has returned from his holidays. Hello, my darling.
Morning.
Hi, you guys. Did you miss me?
Yes. Of course we did.
I brought you back a spatula.
We'll send you a spatula.
I hear you've been having great fun.
Yeah, I have a now collection of spatulas.
He's being sent them by people. It's great. It's great.
I love it. I hear you've been shopping at Tesco. Anyway, guys, it's the drying settle starting. A couple of hit-and-miss showers out there today with some thunderstorm activity through parts of the north and into the east. But we're here on the banks of the Royal Canal here this morning. We're going to be bringing you on a little bit of a nature tour across the moor. Check out already. We have got this gorgeous little heron nestled in. He's having breakfast there, so we'll have full details here from the banks of the Royal Canal right across the morning. Back to you guys in the studio. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday on the banks of the Royal Canal.
He's been singing that for the last... Very well, actually, I have to say. It's been beautiful.
Thank you very much, Myrn.
It has been beautiful.
Now, let's go over to the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Anne O'Donnell.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning. Well, Pope Francis is in hospital for a respiratory infection. In a statement, the Vatican has said that the pontiff will remain in hospital in Rome for a number of days after suffering from breathing difficulties. And it comes ahead of one of the busiest times of year for the 86-year-old in the run-up to the Easter celebrations. The Simon Communities of Ireland's quarterly Locked Out of the Market report from March has found the lowest number of HAP properties available since the research series began in 2015. Here's a closer look at the details.
This latest report from the Simon Communities of Ireland examined available properties in 16 areas of the country over 3 dates in March. It found just 29 properties were available to rent within a discretionary rate of the Housing Assistance Payment Scheme. Overall, 672 properties were available to rent, down 11% on December 2022. The report also found that 11 of the 16 areas had no HAP properties available to rent at all. The supply of properties within HAP limits was again found to be predominantly available in Dublin, with 72% of the 29 HAP properties identified in the study located in Dublin, as were 70% of the total available properties. Dundalk and Kildare were the only areas outside of Dublin to have homes affordable under discretionary HAP rates. Hannah Lamass, Virgin Media News.
An Irishman has been taken off life support in Boston after an attack on St. Patrick's Day. It's understood Barry Whelan was hospitalised and later died after a fatal punch near an ATM machine on Winter Street. Well, the details emerged after the boss of his construction site contacted police when Whelan didn't show up for work. The family of an Irishman locked up in Iran will be holding a vigil outside the Iranian embassy this afternoon. 64-year-old tourism consultant Bernard Phelan was arrested in October after officials accused him of taking photographs of a mosque and of police officers, which he denies. Other charges have since been brought against him and he now faces more than 6 years in prison. Well, closing arguments are set to get underway today in Gwyneth Paltrow's trial about a 2016 ski collision in Utah. Terry Sanderson claims that the actor skied out of control, crashing into him and leaving him with a concussion and 4 broken ribs. Well, the retired optometrist is now suing for $300,000 in damages, while she has countersued for $1 and attorney fees.
As I passed those big signs that said, slow down, seriously, I just went into a glide. I just started gliding. I was going plenty slow, not passing anybody on my left. I just started gliding. And then the silence was broken of that, just simply gliding down the hill, not making turns, and always on the right side. And the silence was broken with a hysterical scream.
Back home, Ireland is reaching a major milestone today as the HSE has updated its public health advice to say that COVID testing is no longer recommended for the vast majority of people. Well, the update comes as COVID-19 testing centres close this week and the PCR self-referral portal is also finished up. Well, the HSE is now advising people with symptoms of COVID-19 to self-isolate for 48 hours after symptoms are mostly or fully gone and wear a face mask if you have to be around other people.
Irish Paralympian Jason Smith says he retired because he felt he'd nothing more to achieve. He retires with 6 gold medals and as world record holder at both 100 and 200 metres.
But I asked myself the question, if I was in Paris watching and somebody else won the race that I felt I could have won, would that bother me? And the answer was no. There was nothing stopping me that I felt like I had to hold on any longer. And the reality is, what more is there to achieve? And there isn't. So for me, not really. And I think that's what made it feel like it's the right decision. Is as difficult as it felt like an easy decision as well.
Ireland back Enya Breen has been ruled out of the remainder of the Six Nations through injury. Anna McGann has been called up to the squad. It comes as Hannah O'Connor says Ireland are not in the competition to make up the numbers.
An opening round defeat to Wales has left Ireland facing an uphill battle in this year's Six Nations. But the relentless nature of the tournament is something the squad are thankful for as they look to right some of the wrongs from Cardiff.
Oh, 100%. And it's the beauty of the Six Nations. As we know, it's like week on, you're into the next week, whether it's a win or a loss. As I said, you get to roll right into it and, fix the things that didn't quite go well and give a better account to yourself the next day out and, hopefully you'll get the opportunity to put on the green jersey again. And this week at home in Cork is an incredibly exciting time. So you can't but be absolutely buzzing for it. And the whole group were, since Monday, by the time Monday rolled around, we were, eyes on the prize for Saturday, and it's just incredibly exciting. So definitely a big week for us.
The big week culminates in a big test. France are the visitors to Musgrave Park on Saturday. Ireland haven't beaten the World Cup semi-finalists since 2017, but there's no feeling in the Irish camp that damage limitation should be the focus.
Absolutely not. No, we are not playing a Six Nations game to have that attitude. As I said, our squad is full of youth and exuberance with a mix of senior people as well, so it's a beautiful balance. But we're definitely not we're not in this competition to make up the numbers or take a step off the gas as we go into this week. So no, very much heads down, see what we can do. And as I said, it's those little tweaks that we feel as a squad we're very confident that's going to make a big difference for us and how we go about our business on Saturday.
Foot on the gas and full speed ahead to Saturday. Anne-Marie Keegan, Virgin Media Sport.
And you can see Ireland's clash against France live on Virgin Media 2 this Saturday. Coverage gets underway at 2:30. Munster head coach Graham Rowntree says the club is built on big Champions Cup occasions. Rowntree's side are in South Africa to take on the Sharks in their round of 16 tie on Saturday.
I'll be amazed if there's not a lot of travelling Munster fans there. There's not a sea of red somewhere. There usually is. They follow us everywhere. Our fans are incredible. No, it's a brilliant occasion, and the lads are lucky. They're lucky to be able to go and play in places like this in this competition. What a challenge, but what a memory it'll be. And the club's built on this. It's a special competition for us. It's the next game. What happened last Saturday is going to drive us on even more.
That's your sport for now. We'll have more for you at 7:30 now. What's the weather like out there this morning? Here's Derek.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you, Jaron. A very good morning. Second last day of March. We're coming to you live here along the banks of the Royal Canal here this morning. Rowan McIntyre on camera. Let's take an opening look at weather together now. And a beautiful sunrise just over my shoulder, but we are seeing plenty of showers. Right on the Cork-Kerry border at the moment, that band of vertical rain hitting parts of Macroom. The bulk of that rain this morning, though, in and around parts of Laois and Carlow and Kilkenny with Naas and County Kildare, not escaping either, but elsewhere mainly settled in those moderate to fresh southwesterly winds. Now, right across today, in fact, into this afternoon, we're going to see that band of rain pull up from the southwest as that cloud thickens. The odd risk of thunderstorm activity through northern and eastern areas out there today as those winds veer to the southeast. And top temps holding quite mild. That's the bit of good news out there for the second last day of March. We're talking 12 to 15 at best. And finally, then tonight, we'll see the bulk of that rain shift northwards. In behind it, it will be a much improved picture as we work away tonight, then into tomorrow morning. Values back to about 5 to 9 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here as a beautiful sunrise comes up over my shoulder. We'll catch you again back live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Gardaí to deal with military claims. Members of the Defence Forces who make allegations of sexual assault will have their complaints referred to Gardaí rather than the internal military police as part of a shake-up following the publication of a damning report.
Army chiefs had insisted to ministers that abuse was in the past. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The Defence Forces Chief of Staff and his predecessors repeatedly assured the government that robust measures were in place to deal with crime, including rape and sexual assault in the military, and to support victims, a secret cabinet memo reveals.
The Examiner leads with that same story. Military chief, I wasn't aware of any abuse. The Chief of Staff of the Defence Forces has said he was completely unaware of abuse and sexual assaults against members during his almost 40-year career.
A disgraceful day in the Dáil is the top story in the Daily Mail. Chaotic and fractious scenes in the Dáil Éireann yesterday were branded a disgrace by the Ceann Comhairle as the government survived a confidence motion to stave off a general election.
The Mirror goes with, we lost 3 gems. No one can replace them. Heartbroken relatives of murdered Seema Banu and her 2 children who were killed allegedly by her husband in Rathfarnham in Dublin in 2020 have spoken of their anguish at the deaths as the inquiry begins today.
The Sun leads with Tara Lily, Tara Paul. Beloved entertainer Paul O'Grady, who died aged 67, prompted a huge outpouring of grief from fans, celebrities and even royalty.
The Star leads with Savage. A nephew of Jerry the Monk Hutch has been jailed for 10 years over 2 violent attacks in the space of 48 hours.
And finally, the Herald goes with Big Black Theory. 4 people have been arrested in relation to a nationwide scam in which they were paid large amounts of money to sit the driver theory test for others. I've heard it all.
147 people, I think, is what it was. We're going to be chatting about that a little bit later on because there's issues with the NCT as well.
Yep, lots of issues.
Always. But later this hour, we're going to be meeting career psychologist Sinead Brady. So we're talking about how we can achieve a better work-life balance. If you have any questions for Sinead, she's excellent at her job. We'd love to hear from you. It's 089 611 111. Work-life balance.
Work-life balance, you need it. Coming up after the break, we're going to delve into those stories that are making the news. We'll see in a few minutes.
Welcome back. Now, joining us to take a closer look at the stories making this morning's news is Lorcan Nyhan from the Communications Clinic.
Good morning to you, Lorcan. We're going to start with the NCT story and the delays. Huge delays.
Very, very significant delays. So there's 425,000 vehicles currently overdue their test past the date they're supposed to have. So almost 500,000. And that's up from the usual of 375,000 that's there. Which I think is the first point that needs to be made here. Is that these are very unusual delays. But the normal state of affairs isn't brilliant.
Imagine, the usual.
At the same time. But look, it obviously is technically supposed to be a big safety risk. Because the whole purpose of the NCT is that, you know, if you don't do the NCT, there's going to be more accidents. So I would wonder, are we going to see in a year's time, would there have been a big increase in accidents? Or is this another thing that we could look at in a year's time and say, well, there was big delays. The NCT is supposed to stop a significant amount of accidents. Will there be more accidents? And if there is, this is obviously a very serious issue. And if there isn't, that's a question.
If there isn't, there is a question mark over the future of what the NCT and the purpose of it's for, because we're meant to be making cars that are safer than ever before, that last for a very long time.
Yeah. And then the resit, I mean, this is what, just to get your first test, the resits then, because I got mine done there recently and I got a cancellation. I was 6 months wait or something like that, then got a cancellation. Failed because I didn't take the hubcaps off the wheels. And I didn't realise you had to do that. And then I heard another guy was failed because his bag was in the boot and the guy said, I couldn't check to see if your tyre was there because your bag was in the boot. We're not allowed to touch the bag.
So you'd swear that it's like a civil service job. Do you know what I mean? That the union won't let me touch that bag. No, it's a private enterprise.
Just take the bag up and take the thing up and look at the wheel. I mean,
doesn't exactly help with the delays. But look, they've said that by the end of June, there'll be no more than 12 days of a wait on the waiting list. So that's the kind of thing that they've said that now.
How are they going to get from 425,000 down to that in June, the end of June?
They're hiring more people.
Oh, OK.
We'd like to know the mad reasons that you failed the NCT. 0896 111 111. Seriously, if it's something, we've all heard those stories, or like my car was failed and my dad said, no, bring it back to someone else 2 days later and it passed. He didn't do anything to the car. We've talked about that before.
Wow.
We did have to mention this when it comes to, because obviously you're not meant to have insurance if your NCT is out of date. Like there's meant to be issues there, but the Gardaí, like if you have the letter.
So you have the letter that says you've been invited to your test. It's not your fault, you haven't had the test, well then obviously
then you're absolutely fine and it's grand. There's another story on the front of the papers today, and this, I'd say this has been going on longer than we think. This is scammers are sitting people's driver theory tests.
Yeah, so they've been paid significant amounts of money, up to €1,500 in some cases.
1,000 to 1,500 euro.
Yeah,
to sit someone's theory test.
To sit somebody's theory test for them. Look, on the face of it, the theory test isn't that hard. I actually passed my theory test twice because I lost the form. So I passed it, lost the form, and then had to come back.
Oh, he's such an
overachiever.
Oh,
look at you.
I still don't have a driving licence, so I'm not an overachiever.
You still don't have a driving licence.
But he's going to have to do a third time if you don't get your driver's licence.
On the face of it, it's a very, very funny story, and why do you need it, etc. But actually, when you look at it and look at the actual story, this is a bit more serious than it seems, because the provisional licence, the learner permit, is ID in this country. You know, you can open a bank account with it. It is official ID. So they've identified the people who've done it. They've charged them with kind of serious gangland legislation that they're using. But you then need to ask the question of the centres, how is that allowed to happen? And because it is national ID, it is a slightly more serious issue than you think. So I imagine there's kind of big conversations having by saying, how have different people come in and done a test on somebody else's name, because then somebody else has the learner permit, they're then driving in this country, and then, you know, and so
it does have bigger ramifications.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's not just 18-year-olds who couldn't be bothered, you know.
But I'm just wondering why do it? Is it because you don't have time, or you think you're going to fail and somebody else will pass it for you? Like, you're paying up to €1,500 to do your theory test.
Yep. I know, but there's probably great because they've been arrested. Like 4 people have been arrested about this. Now we're going to move on to another story, and this is about the Department of the Environment and whether they're taking illegal dumping seriously. And I think there's many people around the country that have strong views on this, because you see it everywhere.
It's disgraceful in some parts of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it obviously has a big impact for lots of different reasons. So Senator Malcolm Byrne is, you know, on it. He keeps asking questions about it, particularly around, can we use CCTV to stop it? So can CCTV be used to identify people who are doing it? And he consistently asks questions and and he's not getting the responses that he wants from the department. The story then moves on because Malcolm Byrne has accused them of using ChatGPT to write the responses. Now, I think this happens when new technology comes up and then people always say, oh, it must be ChatGPT. His evidence...
Can you explain to people what that is?
He said you can... AI tool, you put a little bit of information in and it gives you kind of long form text. That's one of the things they can do. So he's saying they're putting in Malcolm Byrne's asking about CCTV, give us a response. His evidence is that he's got 2 similar responses quite a while apart. Copy and paste, perhaps.
Is it not more that it's just been copied and pasted? So if they're talking about CCTV, send them this one. If they're talking about this, send them this one.
That's probably a little bit
So for last
more
October and then this week, he got the exact same answer to his question. The exact same answer.
I would have thought that doesn't need artificial intelligence necessarily. It needs control C, control V.
That's a standard civil service response to that question.
I'd be happy if they were using ChatGPT, is what I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're reading it and before you send it out, so that it's individualised and personalised. But embrace new technology, etc.
Journalists, he didn't say that. There are jobs for you. Don't worry about it. Stop it now. We need people who are going to be writing these things.
Joe Biden.
If you have anything on this, by the way, around your area, because I think using CCTV seems like a no-brainer, really, doesn't it? 0896 111 111 in your area. Have you contacted your local council or the Department of Environment about what's going on? We'd love to hear from you
Especially if it is a black spot that everybody just dumps on.
Well, it's not going to happen in one place in Ireland.
Oh, Mayo.
Oh, no.
Oh,
in Ballina, County Mayo.
Ballina
there shall be no illegal dumping.
It'll be spotless.
It'll be shining on, I think it's the 14th of April, I think, is when it's going to be shining. So Joe Biden is obviously coming to Ireland. My understanding of these things is that the US don't like everybody to know where the president is going to be on a certain day, so they don't announce the schedule massively in advance. But the councillors of Ballina,
we know, we've heard.
We'll be here on the 14th of April.
Are you not going over? Have we not set up a big thing? Joe, come over and have a chat with us.
Chat with us.
We're here. We'll
got a tent. We'll send Derek.
Yeah. So look, that's obviously his ancestral home place. His father left Ballina during the famine, so they've always claimed Joe Biden. They made a big deal of it when he was vice president as well. So look, it is very likely he's going to be there, and Ballina is going to be in the best state it has ever been. There'll be nice investment coming into it. It'll be very clean.
Now let's talk about this, because so to get ready before the 14th of April, there's a move that includes moving all road sweepers in the entire county of Mayo to Ballina to make sure it's spick and span.
I'm surprised it's just all of Mayo. I mean,
that it's not everywhere.
The West.
Everywhere else can be a tip.
All of the West.
Senator Malcolm Byrne going
You
mad.
can do whatever you want.
No,
surely they don't need all the road sweepers to go to Ballina to keep the place clean.
It's Joe. What should Joe get is what I want to know. Barack Obama has a plaza. JFK got himself a statue in New Ross in 2008. What's Joe going to get? Do we think he also gets a petrol station? 0896
He probably will.
You'll get a shopping centre.
There'll be a statue in Ballina, a shopping centre in Ballina.
I don't think Obama owns the petrol station. I don't think we gave him the petrol station.
No, but
it's more.
Doesn't matter. We all visit because we feel like Barack was there, so we know him a little bit better.
Yeah.
Let's go with...
Tommy Bowe, you're missing him. Guess where he was yesterday? In the European Parliament.
We weren't lying to you.
We weren't lying to you yesterday. Hobnobbing.
Look at him there.
Yes, there he is.
Jenny, do we have a picture of him inside in the Parliament where Tommy Bowe was discussing the Good Friday Agreement? There he is, there up at the top in the European Parliament, discussing the Good Friday Agreement, and obviously he's from a border county. But not only that, I was like, if you meet Ursula, can you talk to her about her hair? And he was like, would you stop? You're not allowed to talk to Ursula about her hair. He was taking pictures of Ursula, sending them back to us last night. We were like, he's really there. So can I just say, Paddy Power, can you get him on the list to be in the Oris next? I think it's about time.
There
European
you go.
Parliament. Surely it cuts his list to be his odds to be president.
Definitely down to from the 500 to 250 to 100 maybe.
Come on.
Down in the right direction.
I mean, he's hobnobbing.
Him and Bertie.
With
Him and Bertie head to head.
Head to head. We'll do a quick fire round inside here, see what happens.
Lorcan, thank you very much for that this morning.
Thank you so much. Sorry, we have another story. We'll try to get it a little bit later on.
Yeah, now still to come, we're going to be discussing the findings from a new ESRI report into the Irish economy.
I do that all of the time. We'll talk to you very shortly on Ireland Day. Now, the ESRI's first quarterly economic commentary. Guys, do you know what? It was published yesterday.
It all sounds very dramatic.
Oh, it's like a new Harry Potter book.
Here to discuss the report is co-author Conor O'Toole. Good morning to Conor. Thank you very much. Can you tell us what the main findings were from the report, and is it good or bad news for us?
Well, it's probably a little bit of both, right?
All right,
That's the main takeaway. So I think what we're kind of saying at present about the economy is that it's not as bad as we had expected at Christmas time. I think the turn of the year, we're all a little bit pessimistic about what was going to happen for this year. You know, we thought inflation was going to be 7%, so another really high inflationary year. You know, we've had one last year. I think everybody's feeling the pinch from that, and we're kind of expecting that to be the case this year. Since, you know, the last couple of months, certainly the energy price element that leads into the inflation has come down somewhat. So that means we're kind of revising how much we think inflation's going to go up this year. That's coming down a little bit. and therefore everything else is going to be a little bit better than we had previously expected.
That's really nice to hear, because I think there's an awful lot of people who are at home, and we all know that everyone is looking at their shopping, taking pictures of it and going, how the hell is that costing me €80? There's about 11 things in the basket. And we all know natural gas is at the lowest. It's at the same rate it was as in 2019. We know that the production of food around the world has dropped to a low rate. Yet we're not seeing it come through as quickly. Like, is that just the way the system works, that it just takes time, even though the prices at the first rate, they're low, but the consumer won't see them for ages?
Yeah, that is kind of how it works. And like, you know, one of the unfortunate things we've seen is that, you know, the international energy prices went up really, really high. And that didn't come all the way through to household bills, right? So they only came through a fraction of the amount the international gas markets went up. Now, because it, you know, it takes a long time.
Like that.
Yeah, no, I know that, yeah, but it just take a long time for those to work through. And, you know, we're seeing them come back down again internationally, but that will take some time to pass through on the ground.
But
to
why,
the bills
like,
we feel.
when they're very quick to put up the prices, but not, why does it take longer for the prices to come back down?
Well, they normally kind of buy the energy about maybe a year in advance, or in a period of time ahead. So, you know, it just has that lagged timepiece between when they buy it and when they supply it. So, you know, actually the international gas market prices went up a lot quicker than the household bills did, right? So, you know, it may not feel like that on the ground.
Exactly.
But, like, you know, that is kind of the dynamic that happened. And, you know, I think that is, you know, we're kind of expecting towards the end of this year maybe to see some relief on that. But
again,
you know,
end of the year.
Yeah, I think it's towards, you know, summertime into the end of the year. I think
hopefully, and of course less. When you see that it's going to be 15 degrees, you're like, thank God.
But I think one thing to remember is that, like, you know, we're expecting prices to maybe not rise as much as we did previously, but they're still going to go up, right?
Yeah.
And they have gone up quite a bit in the last period of time, and you know that particular people on lower income households, you know, that's going to be quite a challenge still for them.
It is, because I'm looking every day, and it's the pictures of what you're buying, what you're getting in your basket. It's shocking. And in your report, you do say that Ireland's economy is in danger of overheating. So what does that mean in relation to, like, is it inflation? What is it?
Well, it's kind of inflation, right? So what's the best way to think about overheating? So let me try and give you an example, right? If you were to maybe you want to go to your favourite restaurant, right? And they only have capacity for 50 people to go in, and 100 people want to go in, right? What do? Well, they say, oh, well, let's raise the prices, and the people who are willing to pay the highest amount will come in.
Yeah.
So there's too much spending happening in a system with small capacity, and prices go up. That's kind of what overheating is, right? There's too much spending happening in the broad economy. Prices are kind of rising to reflect.
And is that why interest rates goes up? Because you have less money then, and so you won't be spending as much?
This is exactly it. So you know, why does the ECB raise interest rates to try and pull prices down? Well, they want to take money out of the system, right? They want to make it more expensive for people, you know, who are wanting to purchase goods and services. Lower credit demand. That's kind of how the system works.
Mm-hmm. And what about, like, there was talk, a lot of talk that we were all of Europe, all the world was going to go into a recession. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. Has that been abated now totally?
Well, not totally, right? I think there's always headwinds and always risks. And I think certainly, you know, even in the last couple of days, there's some gloomier mood music around the international area. But I think some of the bigger recessionary risks that we saw towards the turn of the year have abated somewhat. Okay. So it is a more positive outlook than we previously expected. I think that's the best way to put it.
Okay, and can you look into your Mystic Meg, God rest her ball,
the magic
crystal ball, and go, housing in Ireland will sort itself out? Or are we looking at the fact that we are building less houses than the government promised to build?
I think that might be even too much
population.
For the crystal ball.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think with the housing situation, you know, it's very clear we've had a chronic undersupply of housing for many, many years. Housing completions were up last year, but they're probably going to come down a little bit this year just because the ebbs and flows from the pandemic, you know, lots were started, then stopped, etc.
Yeah, a lot said that it's going to be 6,000 less, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, that creates distortions in the system that are kind of hard to work through. I know you may have seen the house prices look like they're tapering out or moderating somewhat. Yeah. So, you know, that's, I kind of expect that with the interest rate rises, because interest rates go up, makes it more difficult to borrow, credit becomes more expensive, so that takes the steam out of the system. It's kind of what they want to happen, right? So, you know, I think with the housing market, you know, the pressures from affordability are still going to
It is one of the big issues. Is there any other risks that we might see in the next couple of months or the next year that might affect us?
Yeah, there's a couple of things we're kind of looking at. You know, one being the multinationals. So, you know, they are a really great part of our economy, right? We've got all the big tech firms, the big pharma firms. They're all here, you know, create really good jobs, you know, really important component in the economy. But we have an increasing reliance on them. You know, over half our exports, or just under half our exports, come from, you know, pharma and computer services alone, right? And it's similar with the corporation tax receipts. So, you know, we have, you know, a lot of eggs in very few baskets, right? And, you know, particularly the tech sector, right, we've seen it's had a bit of a wobble. So if that continues or gets worse, you know, that could filter down into the Irish economy. So I think the over-reliance on the FDI sector, while it has been really good for Ireland, is a risk.
It's like the construction sector the last time.
Exactly, a good parallel.
It is,
it is. Yeah, you see, you build your economy around too few things and it gets a shock, and then that kind of gives a wobble to the system.
Listen, looking forward to the next report.
It's not too bad.
But it's not too bad.
It's
not too bad.
Not too bad. This is part one. We'll have a few more parts in the booklet coming up later on this year.
Conor, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Now, coming up next, how to quit living to work, and how to start working to live.
We're going to be discussing how to reset your relationship with work next. Talk to you shortly.
After talking about all staying with us now. The notion of living to work has taken over many people's lives, and for many the time has come to reset their relationship with work, like we have, Myrn.
All the time.
All
That's
the time.
us. So says career psychologist Sinead Brady. Good morning, Sinead. It's lovely to have you here.
How are you?
How are you?
Do you think that is that as what has happened? People are living to work, because we were just talking to Conor O'Toole from the ESRI, who's like, well, everything's going up. No one can afford, you know, it's hard to afford things. So then people are working more and more and more to be like, I better do some overtime.
Yeah, we're in this really awkward position, I suppose, at the moment with the economy and how things are. But when it comes to our careers, we have been, and our work life, we're all kind of chasing work-life balance and trying to find a way that we can work while living, rather than just living to work. And COVID taught us, I think, that we can survive on less, and we can do things slightly differently. And many people are looking to reset their relationship with their career. So people are thinking about maybe a career change, they're thinking about a job change, they're thinking even about a location change, maybe not living in the city anymore, living in a rural area. So people are beginning to think differently about their working lives and about their careers.
Because you call the book Total Reset.
Yes.
Your book from Sinead.
And that is something that you did very early on in your career.
Yeah, so I set out into the world of work from Cavan at 17, not really knowing very much about college or otherwise, and did my arts degree, went on then to train as a barrister, went to the King's Inns, and realised kind of quite early on that wasn't... I was about 6 months actually in the Inns, and I realised this isn't what I want to do. And my identity was completely tied up in that, you know, and my parents were proud of me, my grandparents, you know, there was so much. And saying I didn't want to do it anymore was really hard. Really hard. And it took a lot of courage. And I remember telling my dad, and he was like, that's fine. If you don't want to do it anymore, that's fine. But you have to finish the course. You stay until the end, because the skills that you learn will never be too hard. You know, you'll always carry them with you and they'll be of value to you. And when I look back, I remember the time thinking, God, that's going to be hard.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
So you continued it knowing that this is not going to be my career?
Correct, yes.
Was that sort of freeing in a way?
It was great, yeah.
Okay.
And when I look back at it now, it was the right advice, because I was quite young. I was only 21 at the time, had first degree finished, was doing a training programme, and it was the right advice, because it meant that I got to stay there, got to think, I suppose the pressure was off a little.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, you know, you could look at that and say, well, you know, obviously she could do that, her parents could do that for her. Like, we've got a small family business in Cavan. My dad's a plumber, my mum looks after the business side of the business. We weren't of means as such, you know, but that was just the attitude that they had. And they said, look, it will work out. And I suppose then that gave me the opportunity to do something meaningful, to build a skill, and then to go on to what I wanted to do. So I had about 18 months then to figure out. But I was working as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To do all of this.
Yes.
And it's great that you had the support.
Yes.
And that you could trust your parents in relation to that they did want the best for you. And in the book, because you've been here before, and I was really like bed into what you were saying, because it's really interesting, because it is, you know, when people go to work and they're really sad about going to work. Yeah. Like, it's really hard to see that. I feel very, like, we're very lucky and we know
we love our jobs.
But in this book, you talk about curvy careers.
Yes.
What's that now?
So a curvy career is where you have different periods in your life where you have different focuses in your career. So a curvy career is one where you have time maybe out of the paid workplace to care for somebody. It might be to look after your own mental health. It might be to upskill, to reskill. But you actually take time out of the paid workplace, and then you come back into the paid workplace, maybe in a different role, in a different industry, in a different area. And then you go maybe into a period of staying in that same role but progressing in it. So your career kind of follows the ebbs and flows of life. It has a different tempo depending on the season of life that you are going through. And in some seasons of life, maybe all you can do is just get through the day. Your job is about getting to the end of the day. It's about financial security. It is about being able to put food on the table and a roof over your head. That's what your job is about. It's not about 100% commitment and contentment and enjoyment, because that's just not the reality for so many of us. And then in other stages of your career, it might actually be about commitment, and it might be about this place where you're kind of progressing in your career in a way that you want to. So it's about kind of just following the ebbs and flows of life and being able to cope.
Makes sense.
It does make sense, but then do you know people who may not be happy in their jobs, and they're like so many people, just it's a trudge going in. Like, how do you know when the time is right for you to leave and you're not just making that knee-jerk reaction? Like, you go, do you know what? I know. How do you know that this is the right thing for me?
Yeah, and I think that's a really important question, because you can sit in this kind of liminal space, like in between, betwixt and between, not really sure what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. And it's a really important thing to listen to your gut in the first instance. Like, if you're constantly feeling, you know, this is not the right thing for me, but you need to sit down, and I talk about pen and paper all the time, 60 seconds, and there's a process that you can go through. First off, ask yourself, you know, is it the function of your job that's actually bothersome for you? And the function of the job is the thing that you've trained to do, the technical thing that you do every day. Is that the thing that every day you go in and sit down at your desk and go, Jesus, if I see a spreadsheet once more, that's it, I'm done. Or if I see this, I just don't want to do that. Or is it the environment that you're doing your job in? So it could be actually that it's maybe the colleagues you're working with, or it could be the organisation that you're in. It might be the work culture. It could be the wider industry that you don't really like. So it might be the function of what you do, or it could be the environment. So if it's the function of what you do, as in the type of work that you're doing, then you might be looking at taking your transferable skills and going to another area, upskilling, reskilling or retraining. If it's the environment that you're doing it in, that might be just a change of company. So you have
the same job, but just with somebody else.
Absolutely,
yeah,
correct.
There's a nicer environment working in that place. Yeah,
it might be a smaller. So, for example, one person that I'd worked with, you know, she was going to leave her entire profession. And when we sat down and went through it, actually, she realised that she didn't want to work in a really large organisation. She wanted to go into somewhere where kind of there was less hierarchical, and she wanted to do the same job, but just in a different type of organisation. Yeah. And then it could be function and environment. And if that's the case, then you're looking at a much different... Yeah.
There's a chapter in this saying what you can learn from MacGyver, which I absolutely adore. And it also tells you how to use this book. The way it's set up, it's lovely. It's like an email with the out of office. Total Reset, Quit Living to Work and Start Working to Live by Sinead Brady. And also, your children have Kardashian names. They all begin with S.
They do all begin with S, yes.
They all begin with S. Such beautiful
And they're
names.
watching this morning.
What are their names?
Sive, Cyrilla, Shuan and Senan.
There you go. Look at that. Good morning, guys.
And Alan, good morning. I assume you're at home as well.
Yes.
Mammy's on the telly.
Yes, she is.
She's on the telly. Brand new book, Total Reset by Sinead Brady. It is out now, and it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have to get you back and just to answer some questions for viewers.
Yeah,
because I think that would be really important.
We're going to MacGyver your careers.
Yeah.
That's what
that's right.
I'll talk to you shortly.
Yeah,
Best of luck with
Thank you very much.
We'll be back with you on Ireland Day very shortly. Thank you so much.
Lovely.
Now let's take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Gardaí to deal with military claims. Members of the Defence Forces who make allegations of sexual assault will have their complaints referred to Gardaí rather than the internal military police as part of a shake-up following the publication of a damning report.
Army chiefs had insisted to ministers that abuse was in the past. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The Defence Forces Chief of Staff and his predecessors repeatedly assured the government that robust measures were in place to deal with crime, including rape and sexual assault in the military, and to support victims, a secret cabinet memo reveals.
The Examiner also leads with that same story. Military chief, I wasn't aware of any abuse. The Chief of Staff of the Defence Forces has said he was completely unaware of abuse and sexual assault against members during his almost 40-year career.
Amazing. Anyway, a disgraceful day in the Dáil is the top story of the Daily Mail. Chaotic and fractious scenes in the Dáil yesterday was described as a disgrace by the Ceann Comhairle as the government survived a confidence motion to stave off a general election.
The Mirror goes with, we lost 3 gems, no one can replace them. Heartbroken relatives of murdered Seema Banu and her 2 children who were allegedly murdered by her husband in Rathfarnham in Dublin in 2020 have spoken of the anguish at their deaths as the murder inquiry takes place today.
The Sun leads with Ta-ra Lily, Ta-ra Paul. Beloved entertainer Paul O'Grady, who died aged 67, prompting a huge outpouring of grief from fans, celebrities and even royalty.
The Star leads with a nephew of Jerry, the monk Hutch, has been jailed for 10 years over 2 violent attacks in the space of 48 hours.
And finally, the Herald goes with Big Blag Theory. 4 people have been arrested in relation to a nationwide scam in which they were paid large amounts of money to sit the driver theory test for others.
Now, cars are in a lot of the papers this morning because it's been found that there's 425,000 cars that are waiting for their NCT test, up from the normal average of 375,000 people who are waiting.
Just
for
imagine,
a long time.
425,000 cars are waiting for an NCT.
For a test that we are told is pertinent, that we have to have in order to ensure safety of cars.
Yeah, there you go. Are we so many texts coming in? Noreen, I applied for my NCT test yesterday. Guess when she was given the date? Guess when Noreen is going to have her test? November 28th. She applied yesterday and she's been given a date on November 28th.
We were talking about reasons that you might have failed the test because Adam you got your NCT recently and someone had failed it because they had a bag in the boot.
They had a bag in the boot and the guy said, we couldn't remove that bag so we couldn't see if your wheel was OK.
This is going to be a game of one-up. Can you beat that?
Yes,
I think we can. Pauline, my son's car failed for having a jacket in the boot of his car. They don't have to deal with the boot.
The actual guy just couldn't lift up the jacket and...
Yeah, now there's probably people at home going, well, you're told that you have to have everything out the boot of your car. I realise that, but come on. These are the reasons that we've got such delays, surely.
Yeah. Too much oil. Wayne says, for my NCT, they failed me on having too much oil, so they couldn't do my emissions.
Oh, God.
You have too much oil in your car.
Now, this one, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to beat this one. This is from Sinead. Good morning, Sinead. And she says, I failed the NCT because one of the stars on the number plate was faded. I kid you not.
So is this the European flag star thing?
I would assume so.
So one of those was...
That can't be real.
That can't. They can't fail you because that was... So what are you supposed to do with that?
That can't be real.
Go out and touch it up yourself?
Oh, get the Sharpie out. But is that not interfering with an official document, essentially?
That is crazy. Anyway.
0896 111 111. Can you beat the star? That's going to be pretty hard.
We were also talking about rural dumping and illegal dumping, and Oscar was on. I live in a rural enough area and the amount of illegal dumping I witness is unbelievable. I've reported it several times, yet nothing has been done about it.
Like... What are you meant to do? You see it. You're doing what you're meant to do as a citizen. Nothing's happening. And this is about fly tippers, which we all know happens all the time. Karen says, a van comes around my estate from time to time taking away people's rubbish. Surely these residents know this rubbish is going to be dumped. Goes to show the lack of care. The not on my doorstep mindset is disgraceful. You know when you see just at the side of the road old sofas
I was driving home the other day and a car in front of me through a full McDonald's paper bag where they'd obviously eaten all the stuff. Just threw it out the window. I felt like driving after them.
Have you... obviously, I'm on the motorway an awful lot driving home to Limerick, and the motorway in the last 2-3 years, the sideways, like the motorway, where an awful lot of animals live, by the way, that's a habitat place for them. They're disgusting.
Disgusting.
It's absolutely manky on the motorway now. Just rubbish absolutely everywhere.
Like, why do keep it in your car, bring it home, put it in the bin?
Yeah.
They literally just threw it out the window. It nearly hit my car, and I was like...
But would you almost go, can you then take that licence plate and ring up someone and say they did this?
To do what? What'll they do?
I know.
The police will go, nothing. Anyway, do you know what? On a happy note, on a lovely note, we just want to say hello to one of our... We have fabulous viewers on this show. We really do. They are so nice. And I just want to say a big hello to Bridget, who sent me in this. Isn't this lovely?
She didn't just send it in. She
made it. No, sorry. Bridget knitted this. She's 94 years young. And she said COVID was like living in 3 years in prison.
Yeah.
And she says, but Ireland AM got her through it.
And it's beautiful.
And she knit this for us. And her niece Judy sent the letter in as well. So Bridget, 94 years young, and to Judy, her niece, thank you so much. That was so thoughtful of you.
It goes with everything that he wears as well,
thank you, and continue to watch Ireland AM. And we are so happy that we got you through COVID and we helped in some small way.
And we're going to try to give back to some people now because it is competition time on Ireland AM.
Yes, we're coming up to the most chocolatey time of the year. And to celebrate, Cadbury have created Worldwide Hide, where you hide a Cadbury Easter egg for someone you love in a place that's special to both of you. Where would that place be for you, Muireann?
My sitting room? In front of the telly?
You had to think of that.
In my sitting room in front of the telly. We've teamed up with Cadbury to give you the chance of winning one of 5 €500 one-for-all vouchers, plus a cracking Cadbury hamper.
Now, when you spot the Cadbury Easter egg rolling across your screen, that's your cue to text in egg to 57199 and answer the question given. So, very good luck to you.
Absolutely. After the break, we're going to be finding out what it's like to live with a bipolar disorder and what exactly it is, because it comes in many different guises. We'll talk to you shortly. Welcome back. Now, our next guest has battled mental health issues since his teenage years, experiencing extended highs and lows, many of which could have lasted months at a time.
Now, it wasn't until years later that Liam Gildea was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And Liam is here to talk about his experience and is also joined by Professor of Psychiatry at Trinity College, Brendan Kelly. Good morning to both of you. Thank you very much for coming in. Liam, we'll chat to you in a moment. But Brendan, can you tell us what is bipolar disorder and how do you notice the symptoms?
Well, bipolar disorder is a mental illness that occurs in around 1% of people. And it's characterised by episodes of depression and then episodes of elation or mania, it's sometimes called, where the person gets very hyper, filled with energy, filled with ideas, buzzing with energy, wanting to do lots of things. And then between episodes, there can be periods of stability as well. But it's really these sustained mood episodes, maybe several weeks or months depressed, and then several weeks or months elated or a bit manic.
So it wouldn't happen within, like, you're down one day and up another. It is over weeks or months that you're actually quite down and then quite high.
Exactly. It's over weeks and months. So, if you're feeling sad in the morning, happy in the afternoon, sad in the evening, that's not bipolar disorder. That's just your mood sort of bouncing around a bit during the day.
Okay. And does it manifest at a certain age?
Well, it tends to start most commonly around the early 20s, but it can appear at different times. But perhaps one of the big difficulties is with diagnosing it, with recognising it. Because many people can recognise depression, but maybe the elation is a little more difficult to label.
I can imagine, Liam, because what was it like for you? When was it noticed that there's something going on here?
Yeah, when I was 16, I realised I was low, but then I thought I was just a moody teenager. And I always kind of tried to justify it, and I was like, this is just something I have to go through. But as the years passed by, it was clearly evident then that the depressive episodes were getting worse. But as Brendan was saying, it took me a long, long time to see the elated periods. And people often ask me, well, why was that the case? Well, I could have been coming out of a 9-month depressive episode, and like a flick of a switch, all of a sudden I have huge energy. I have little need for sleep. I'm spending any bit of money I have. I'm the life and soul of the party. It's very, very hard to admit to yourself then that there's a problem. And you talk to a lot of people with bipolar. They all say the same thing. The highs are really enjoyable.
And the highs are enjoyable, but then how long was that going on before you notice, oh, I have to do something about this?
Look, I felt the stigma as a young fella, you know. I got to 2009 and I said, I have to do something with these depressive episodes. So I presented myself to a GP, but I never gave him the full story. I just said to him, look, I'm severely depressed, I'm suicidal. And what could he do? Only treat me for depression. But like the problem with that is you put somebody that's bipolar on antidepressants, it does the job, but then it shoots them too high.
But did you not see somebody at that stage? Did you not like see a psychiatrist or anybody at that stage that they could talk you through and you could talk through your symptoms with them?
Yeah, but I wasn't being fully honest.
You weren't. You didn't tell them that. You didn't tell your doctor. You didn't tell the psychiatrist.
Yeah, the onus and responsibility was on me to be honest. Like, and if I'm not being honest, it's not the GP's fault.
No. But the interesting thing is, because it manifested in you with depressive episodes that you really did notice, but you really loved the highs. So you're like, oh, this could be my baseline. Like, this could be who I am.
Yeah.
So kind of going, oh, this is... So then it is... You could understand how people might think it is depression.
Yeah, and...
Or am I kind of... Or were you going, there is actually something going on?
Well, and look, there's different types of bipolar. There's bipolar type 1 and there's bipolar type 2. What's the differentiating factor? It's the level of the mania. So bipolar 1, the mania is very, very evident, generally ends in hospitalisation. Hypomania is not as evident. Like, there's a huge element of arrogance and grandiose with that condition. So if you didn't know me, you just think I was an arrogant git. And, you know, you think, oh, you know, he's cocky, you know, he's full of himself. So it's not that evident. It could be just a personality type.
For you, what were those highs then? What, like, when you were on the highs, what were you doing?
Look, ask any family that have a family member that are bipolar, they find the manic periods worse. Because you're a loose cannon. There's nothing you can get yourself in a lot of trouble.
And did you?
Like, one of the funniest things was I used to get this thing called rapid speech. So we're having a chat here and we're engaging and we're not cutting across. When I was having rapid speech, I could like speak to someone for about 2 hours. So I remember back in 2009, and I had been on the phone for like 19 hours in the space of a week. Now, I was holding down a job at the same time. But I'll never forget ringing the phone company and they said, yeah, you owe €700. But at the time, it just felt so normal to be non-stop, incessant chatting. But people always say, like, how did you not? How did you not see that? And I always say to people, it's like, if you start talking Spanish to me, I don't have the knowledge in my head to talk back. I don't have that knowledge. And that was like when I was high, I just didn't have the knowledge. But like, getting a good GP and a regular GP, and you know, how did we finally figure it was bipolar? So I got myself a regular GP, and then I was going in for a physical symptom, and he noticed that I was high.
Okay.
So I finally got a diagnosis in 2013, and he was great, and he referred me to a psychiatric daycare centre where I could walk in Monday to Friday. Psychiatric hospital wasn't part of my treatment plan. But once I got the diagnosis and got the medication right, the mood stabilising medication, things got easier, but there was a couple of bumps on the road.
Because you stopped taking your medication.
Yeah, myself and Brendan were on about this earlier.
Is that one of the signs of people with bipolar? They tend to come off their medication?
Yeah, bipolar is a very treatable condition. As you know, there are treatments that help a lot. There are medications. There's daycare support when that's available. Regulating sleep and diet and lifestyle is important. But very often there can be breakthrough hypomania, which is the lesser form of mania, or severe mania, and usually at that point the medication gets stopped because, you know, the thoughts are racing, there's grandiosity in the thinking, no need for medication. And at the extreme end, a person can, you know, become very, very elated, maybe feel they're on a mission, you know, to save the world and so forth, and, you know, medication, you know, it doesn't feel to them medication has any role in that.
Because that's what you hear with people who are bipolar in the press, like when they talk about it, it's like they want that high. Like, you know, when you think about it, when anyone likes something like, you know, alcohol or drugs or something like that, it's an addiction. So can that be how it presents, that you're kind of like, you feel like you're going up and you're like, this feels good, I want this, so bye-bye drugs?
Yeah, I mean, you have extreme levels of confidence. You offer that to any person and it's a nice choice to take. But look, The ramifications for leaving the hypomania untreated means my hypomanic episodes were usually about 4 or 5 months, but then when I crashed, the depressive episodes lasted anything from 9 to 18 months.
And, wow. And how are you now?
Yeah, and we were chatting about this beforehand. There is a misconception with people with bipolar that they're never stable. But like I've been stable now for the guts of 5 years, and I don't have, thank God, I don't have bad days. I just have a normal life, and look, the illness is always perceived as a negative thing. It's so many positives. Like it's opened so many opportunities, you know.
Because it's not just you, and that's the thing for bipolar. For anyone that has issues, it is the people around you as well that it affects their lives, I would assume.
Yeah, and you know, having a support network is great too. You know, it's up to you to educate your family and friends about it. And at least then I've great mates. Like, and you know, if I'm on a WhatsApp group and I'm sending them a ton of messages at 4 a.m. on a Sunday night, which has happened, they'll be on to the wife and saying
there's something wrong. They know there's something wrong.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I call these people spotters. So sometimes they can spot. It's just to nip it on the bud. Yeah.
And how do you do that? If there was anyone here this morning who was listening in and something's kind of connecting with them, Brendan, is there something that you could say to them? Obviously, go to your GP.
Yeah, now going to your GP is important if you think you might have depression or might have bipolar disorder. But maybe the more tricky situation is if you think someone in your family is elated and they're filled with this, you know, pressure of speech and all these ideas, and they seem to be hypomanic and manic. They might not be willing to listen to you. They could be flying along and believing they're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Now, if that is the case, it is helpful to be patient, to, you know, try and make your point as gently as possible, not take the rejection as personally as you might, and wait for maybe a better moment to come or talk to another family member. This is difficult on families. And I don't know about in your instance, Liam, but often there is overspending, there is disinhibited behaviour, relationships can take a real hit. And that's usually during an episode of elation. And one of the difficult aspects is after treatment, the person looking back on what they did and building bridges, repairing relationships. But the condition is treatable.
Yeah.
So people should talk to their GPs about it and do be honest about hypomania or, you know, periods of elation, because it can be such an important clue.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, and congratulations, 5 years. You seem really happy, which is great.
Yeah, I managed to release a book as well. So, like I said, look, there's been loads of opportunities allowed to change my career. It's just, I have a great appreciation for my life, I have great appreciation for my health. I've empathy to other people, so, you know, life is great.
It's good. It's called High Life, Low Life, Living with Bipolar Disorder, which really lets people into it and see what it's like. Thank you so much, Liam Gildea. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm Brendan Kelly, Professor of Psychiatry at Trinity College, Dublin, on this World Bipolar Day. Thank you so much for
joining us today. Thank you very much for coming in. Thanks for staying with us. She's very excited. Muireann's favourite meal is on the menu this morning, and Alberto Rossi
Get rid of the tea, give me some
from
wine.
the Intercontinental Hotel is here. You're making...
Good morning. I'm making carbonara, linguine carbonara.
Actual Italian carbonara.
Exactly.
Let's
very easy. You know, well, easy. Yeah, it's all right. You need to have the right ingredients. You know, so what we are using is guanciale. That it is the cheek or the jowl of the pork, and has been cured and everything and smoked. So
now, can we get that in places?
Absolutely. They sell it now in most of the places you can go and find it. Yeah, supermarkets.
Because most people just get pancetta.
Yes, because it's more available. And in all fairness, I haven't seen guanciale in Ireland up until maybe 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
Apart from the industry, obviously, that I work in, so I can get all the guanciale I want, you know?
Because you're a top chef.
Yes, no, because I work in a restaurant, you have access to other things. And, you know, it's quite fatty, you know. You have a piece here, you can see that there's quite a lot of fat, and then there's the meat. So when you cook it, you need to put it in a pan with just a little bit of oil, because it's going to release a lot of grease.
Oil. Yeah.
You know, because otherwise you just burn everything, you know. And then
what would you do?
You burn it. But we won't burn it. I didn't burn it yet. So then what you do is you have your pasta water boiling. Make sure you put salt in the water, because no salt in the water, no flavor in the pasta, you know. And you can have all the best sauce, but it won't work. And then you can choose your pasta, okay? Spaghetti usually is the more traditional. I use linguine, like a little bit more flatter and, you know, more bite to it. But you can also do it with short pasta, penne, fusilli, all that stuff. Yeah. Less messy. Then you have egg yolks in a bowl. I have here about 5 egg yolks, Parmesan cheese and pecorino cheese grated together, and then black pepper, okay? So the black pepper is quite thick. And you just crank it in.
Are they all in there already?
All in here already. So you just mix it together. There's not, it's not a secret
recipe. And your
recipe
cream and your
anything.
milk just go with that lovely yellow colour.
Yes, and the cream and the milk has been thrown in.
He's actually, your face actually got, it just fell. He was like,
you can't do it,
So
you get like quite a thick sauce, okay? So what the plan is now, I'm gonna strain the pasta, I'm gonna mix it with the bacon or with the guanciale in the pan, and then from here I'm gonna put it in the bowl. Okay. What we do is, because if we put the egg mixture in a hot pan, is gonna make scrambled eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and everybody can make scrambled eggs, and we are not here to do it. So here is the linguine.
Oh.
Okay, we're gonna strain it a little bit. Here, obviously, you do it at home, you just strain the pasta, okay, in the sink. But always keep a little bit of the cooking water. Now, the cooking water is full of starch, so it's gonna be thick. And if you think that your sauce is a little bit too thick, you just add a little bit of water. So that is the job that a lot of people prefer the cream to do. But then you have a lot of, it's heavy, so we don't want that. So now I'm gonna take the pasta, I'm gonna put in the pan. You see, there is all the guanciale and the fat from the guanciale. Okay, now the pasta is hot, so is the guanciale, and you just mix it a bit, it won't stick.
Oh, you can hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and all the pasta nice and then you put it inside your bowl. That is not hot.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you keep it from becoming scrambled eggs. And then you just mix it up.
And that's it.
Yeah, well, it sounds easy, but you want to also
I know,
make it
it's
right,
very difficult. It's been very
And you see, it kind of gets gloopy a little bit. So you say, oh my God, now I ruined it. But in this case, I just take a little bit of the water from the pasta cooking.
Do you think that's too gloopy? Because I love when the sauce is really thick on it.
Yeah, but he wants to show people.
He wants to show people how to do it. That's why I made it gloopy on purpose.
He makes it gloopy on purpose. So that he can
I don't make gloopy stuff. Okay, and then you just serve it. You can put
another one for the Alberto cook.
I don't make gloopy stuff.
Add it to the book.
You learn how not to make it gloopy, And that's it. And then you see you put it on a nice plate. That's it. Okay, and then you can make it as saucy or less saucy as you want. Put in less eggs or be more eggs.
Did you do this in the hotel?
Yeah, we do it, and there's a funny story. Years ago, we had this special VIP guest that requested a carbonara, and of course they called me down in the kitchen, room service,
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, Alberto, somebody wants a carbonara, it's not on the menu, would you make it?" I said, "Absolutely, I'll make it." So obviously,
who was it?
Oh, I can't say. Nikki will get me done.
No, the matter.
And some Parmesan cheese on top. So then I made the carbonara exactly as this, with spaghetti. The man complained.
Why?
Because there was no mushroom and no chicken.
No chicken.
I think I threw my apron on the floor and I said, "That's it, I'm done with it."
So they were Irish anyway, were they?
Well, I don't know if they were Irish, but come on,
Alberto, thank you so much.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
No problem at all.
Delicious.
Oh my good God. That is amazing, Alberto.
He's
amazing.
good, huh?
So good.
All you need is the good ingredients.
Lads, you're going to enjoy this. Make this at home if you can. It's so good.
It's so lovely. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll see you back here in a few minutes. Staying with us now in her dazzling debut novel, Dirty Laundry, Disha Bose immerses us in a small town's secrets and scandals.
We're delighted to have Disha with us this morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Debut book, which looks absolutely fantastic.
It does look fab, doesn't it?
Can we just say, what smacks of beach read? Here we go.
Here
Dirty
we go,
Laundry.
yeah.
Tell us all about the book, Disha.
So it's based in a small village near West Cork, and it follows a group of 3 young mothers. One of them is a social media influencer. She's the popular one. One of them is a social outcast. So she's kind of a hippie parent, and all the other women kind of roll their eyes at her behind her back. And one of them is an Indian housewife, and she's in an arranged marriage. And they all live in the village together. And one of them is found dead.
Oh,
so.
Dun, dun, dun. When you get loud, it just reminded me, and this is what people are saying, it's a bit like Desperate Housewives or something like that. I mean, so it's a thriller then, is it? Are we trying to find out then who caused
who could be responsible?
Who's responsible for the murder?
Yeah.
And how is it? Because I suppose you have perfectly described West Cork there, because it's a very eclectic place. There is a lot going on. There are certainly different parenting styles for an awful lot of people, and bringing all that in with each other. And of course, you brought in your own background, being a South Asian woman yourself. So how was it? Like, it's not autobiographical, I assume.
No.
But it is bringing your own experience of a woman who's moved to Cork.
Yes, yeah. My husband is Irish, actually, but this lady in the book, she's married to an Indian man who's a lecturer at university, and her parents have picked him for her. So she's a bit unhappy. Her husband is a bit distant and cold. It's not a loving marriage. So she turns to the social media influencer, who's Kira, and she's kind of taken her under her wing, and they're kind of best friends now.
Okay.
And where did the idea for this, when you sit down, because I'm going to write me book. Where does those ideas? I'm always fascinated with this when you're talking to authors. Where does the whole seed come from?
I don't know. It came as a vision to me. The last scene, which is also the start of the book, it came as a vision to me almost. I was sitting at my desk and then I saw the scene unfold and I knew I had to write it down.
Really?
Yeah. And then I had to work backwards from it because I had the ending of the book. And then I had to kind of make the characters and delve into their past and their stories.
So you knew how it was going to end, which is just, you have to create everything around that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've moved from the tech industry.
Yes.
And then you've moved into writing. You did a creative writing course. That sort of move.
Yeah.
How was that hard?
It was hard, but I'd studied English literature in college. And then I'd moved into the tech industry. Okay. So I did that for a couple of years, and I just knew it wasn't for me. So I quit eventually.
It's
like we were talking about earlier on this morning about just deciding to move into another career.
Yeah. Yes, and it just wasn't for me. The desk job, the 9 to 5. I wanted to be in my own space, writing and reading, and
And when you say the desk job there, what is your process when you are writing? Is it the way some authors will sit and they'll work from 9 to 5 every day, or is it when it just takes you have to rush to the laptop?
Yeah, well, I have a small child. She's nearly 4 now. She's not that small anymore. So I'm with her most of the day. So I'm kind of moving about, doing my own thing, thinking. It's all brewing in me, really. And then when I have a couple of hours to myself, I sit down and write. And it's not really sitting down and write. I tend to pace around the house and think, and then I sit down and I write a couple of 100 words, and then I'm pacing around the house again. It's a strange process.
It's what you got to do.
It's what you got to do.
It's what you got to do. Yeah. This is your debut novel, sold into other territories. We know you've almost got your second one completely finished. It looks absolutely great. Secrets, desire, blood. It all comes out in the wash. Dirty Laundry by Disha Bose, debut novel. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
When you look at that cover and then you think it's set in Cork.
You know what, Cork people, you text
Cork people is lovely. We love Cork. But it looks like LA or something like that.
That is absolutely every Cork house I've ever been to. Yeah. Carrigaline. In Carrigaline.
Carrigaline. Disha, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll be back with you on Ireland Day very shortly. Thank you so much. What was that?
No, I'm grand. Oh,
gosh. Welcome back to Thursday's show.
Do you know what? We've a problem. What? We've a leak in the kitchen.
Dana did that joke 2 seconds ago, and now you're... Yeah, she did. Like, are you... Oh, my God.
I thought I was big. We've a leak in the kitchen. Okay. There.
He's not a father, but he can do dad jokes.
Coming up, from fibre to fermented foods, we get a guide to improving your good health with performance nutritionist Sinead Brady. Sinead, it is important, our good health for us. It really is.
It is, and I'm looking forward to showing the viewers how important it is and why it's important in so many aspects of our health, not just our gut.
Yeah, it has to do... See, it can affect every area of your life.
Our mood, our well-being, our heart health, our energy, our fatigue.
Are you ready for more of these jokes later on?
Are we making for more leak jokes?
Yeah. Oh, she's never heard them before. Actually, Sinead actually rolled her eyes there. That's a good one there. Also on the way, one of comedy's best kept secrets. Tim Heidecker chats about his zany sketch shows and working with everyone from Will Ferrell to Kristen Wiig.
And Brian Lloyd is very excited that he's here this morning.
Aren't
you, Brian?
I can't believe it. I was talking to him outside. I'm a huge On Cinema at the Cinema fan. Yeah, Tim Heidecker. 4 bags out of 5. So, yeah.
On Cinema fan, that is a show that he does.
That's a show that he does, yeah, On Cinema. Cinema at the Cinema, and I am a huge fan of it. And it is, for my money, the best movie review show in the entire universe. On Cinema at the Cinema, 4 bags of popcorn out of 5.
Brian's going to have a chance to talk about actual movies.
Actual movies, yeah, sorry, yeah.
What else will you be
Might
reviewing,
just talk about
Brian?
Tim for the day.
Yes, so I will be talking about Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. I'm going to be talking about the new Tetris movie, and I'm going to be talking about Netflix's Beef, which is a new TV series. So, yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Looking forward to that.
So happy.
I'm so happy. I
It's
can't believe it. I was talking to him like
Actually,
that. I can't believe it. Oh my God.
It's like us with Callum Lynch yesterday, isn't it?
Yeah, we were chatting earlier on, as in most of the papers this morning, there's 425,000 vehicles waiting for an NCT test.
Yes, there is.
425,000 waiting an NCT. And we were asking, have you NCT stories? Because I was sort of saying when I got a cancellation, but I didn't pass because the hubcaps, I didn't realise you had to take the hubcaps. And I heard about another man beside me, they wouldn't take a bag out of his boot. Now, I know you're supposed to clear your boot, but they wouldn't take the bag out. So he failed. We have been getting some whopper stories in all morning.
We were trying to beat Sinead's, and Sinead said that she failed because one of the stars on her registration plate for the EU was faded. And we were like, that can't be real, but also, can you beat it? We think we have.
I think we have. Pauline said, my car failed my NCT because of a tiny hole in the driver's seat. I started to laugh at the guy because I said, I couldn't understand how this was going to affect me unless I fell through the hole in the seat onto the road. So I went off, I bought a car seat cover. The hole is still there. I just bought a car seat cover and I passed. Paulette said, you could not make this up.
How is that real?
We've had some whoppers about the NCT tests this morning. I swear to God.
Did they think that it was a Fred Flintstone car and that her feet were running along underneath the hole in the seat?
A tiny hole in the car seat. Like...
Luz has sent us in a message going, you should make it private. It is private, Luz. This is not something that's run by the government. We farmed this out years ago. We are not making any money off this. This is a private enterprise that's done. So...
Oh, dear.
Amazing, Paulette. Thank you so much for getting in contact today.
Keep them coming in because
I
think we need a statement from the NCT, but they probably won't give us one anyway because they say
they're too busy.
No, but they do say you have to clear your car. You're supposed to take your hubcaps off. But I was saying earlier on, maybe when you pay your money when you're there and you're registering and you're paying your money, they should just say, look at.
There normally is one though. I think
but they should even draw your attention to it. Go. Have a quick look at that and make sure that's all there for you.
It's there. Anyway,
clear your boot, everything.
Amazing.
Like
we were talking about the litter problem earlier on as a senator in Wexford is asking, he's like, is the Department of Environment taking this seriously at all? And we just want to say someone wants to give a shout out, Emer. She says, I live in the country and our council Offaly are great. I rang them a few times about black bags being dumped and they came out and collected them straight away. If it's still intact, they can prosecute if any evidence remains inside, of course. That could be any sort of addresses or whatever. So a shout out to a good county council there.
Offaly County Council. Well done. You're doing a great job. Stephanie, I agree with Mirren about, it's gone. All right. I've just been told we're out of time.
Now, after the break, thank you so much for your messages today, as always. Comedian Tim Heidecker talks stand-up sketches and working with the world's biggest celebrities. We'll talk to you shortly on Ireland AM.
He's a comedian and musician whose brand of absurdist comedy has garnered him a cult following over the last 20 years.
His name is Tim Heidecker. There are many people in this building who are incredibly excited about this. But before we get to chat to Tim and we try to keep Brian Lloyd away from him as much as possible, let's take a look at him in action.
Just meet me at the waterfront in 3 hours.
Oh, folks, we barely left the dock, but it looks like we got some company. Look right there. You see it, folks? There it is. There's a breach. What the? Hi, sorry.
God. Hi, everybody. My name is Tim Heidecker, and I am the host of On Cinema at the Cinema, which is the program you're watching right now. It's on the internet. I'd rather not be here, in other words, because I'm in, my foot is in a lot of pain. I was telling you guys about the tingling, and the past week, foot has gotten so swollen.
What are you talking about? It doesn't go in. 1, 2, thank you.
you. Let's start it again from the...
Assessing himself as he's watching
He's looking
it.
at that. No, why are you showing that clip?
No.
I could have recommended better clips.
I've got much better packages I could have sent you.
You've got a much better package, do you? Thank you for
Excuse me.
opening it up with that,
Pardon
Tim.
me.
All right, we're on morning television. Good morning, Tim Heidecker.
Good morning. How are you, Tim? I'm okay.
You create. There's so many things you do in comedy, and it is, you know, parodies of what certain things are and where they are. But how did it all start for you? Because it is interesting how you got your big break.
Oh, yeah. I went to film school with Eric Wareheim, my comedy partner, and we didn't think about doing comedy. We thought we were going to be like, you know, Martin Scorsese or something. That's who we wanted to be. But in our off time, we used to just, like, you know, make prank phone calls and make these weird little art movies and stuff. And our friends liked them. We liked them. And we made a little compilation, sent it to Bob Odenkirk, who you guys might
Breaking
know.
Bad.
This was
Better
before,
Call Saul.
yeah, it was before all that. But
Yeah.
he was like a comedy, you know, cult comedy hero of ours. And miraculously, he watched it and called me and was like, "What can I do to help?"
Did you get his attention in a different way?
Well, we
though,
sent him
Tim?
we sent him a package with the DVD and some headshots of us wearing, you know, neon sports trainers and crazy pictures of us, and an invoice for $125 for the package. And I think
to reimburse you.
For the DVD. And he got that joke, like miraculously. He thought that was funny, and then watched it. And I can't believe what he saw. It was probably, you know, if I watched it now, I'd be very embarrassed. But well, it's like, you know, it's your
DVD,
first
your
stuff.
first. Of course. Wearing Can't Watch Yourself back on anything. I'm the same. So it's like that when you were even watching your clips there. When we introduced you, said, and this absurdist humour.
Yeah.
Was that always you? Is that what you always wanted to do? What attracted you to that kind of humour?
I mean, I grew up watching, you know, Andy Kaufman, Albert Brooks, Kids in the Hall, Monty Python. So it was all that stuff was absurdist and surreal, and that's what I loved most. And Steve Martin, and like the stuff that, like the inside jokes that you have with your friends, the stuff that make you laugh, where you don't really, it's not like punchlines. It's just like a mood. It's like a vibe. And you know, we were just always trying to capture those kind of moments. And we never think about an audience, which maybe is a mistake, but we think about what makes us laugh. And
you're a comedian's comedian, because in the world of comedy.
Although a lot of comedians don't like me, but that's.
But in the world of comedy, you have so many fans.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking about people who want to work with you.
Yeah.
You know, Will Ferrell, Adam McKay, they got you involved in Funny or Die, the website, which was the first thing really in the web that went global of kind of watching this thing to subscribe to. And you know, people like Judd Apatow, the lads from Marvel, like you're in Ant-Man, they wanted you for a cameo. What's that like when you have got like big comedians who are like, oh my God, I'm mad about Tim and Eric?
I don't know, it's great. It helps. I'm a fan. Of course, I grew up watching Will Ferrell, and then like I'm doing scenes with Will Ferrell, and he's the funniest guy in the world. But he, you know, very quickly you realize we're all just like, we're all the same, you know? We can click together and make each other laugh, and it's a beautiful thing.
And music is a big part of your act as well.
I disagree.
No?
No, I'm just kidding. It's the second half of my live show. And yes, I'm sorry, folks. I do too much. I bite off more than I can chew. But I go in my garage and I write songs. And what am I going to do?
Perform them.
Sing them.
Yeah, sing them.
Yeah, play them and play them the best I can. So it's fun. A lot of people come to the show and they don't know about the music. And then I do the stand-up and it's good. People laugh.
Yeah.
And then we come out and everyone's like, what is this?
There's a band.
But we get them. We win them over every night. We get them dancing by the end of the show, and no one leaves.
So in Vicar Street tonight, if you're going along to Vicar Street tonight, first half, comedy, second half, all music.
Yeah, but there's comedy,
bit of improv
in the
and
music,
stuff like that as well.
It's
yeah.
a great show. I give it 5 stars.
5
Do
stars.
you?
Tim
I
Heidecker,
wonder
5
what
stars.
Brian Lloyd would give it. Brian, come over and
12.
sit down because
Come here, Brian. I want you to sit on my lap.
Well, actually, okay.
You know,
okay.
I want to talk about something. I want to talk about my jeans for a second.
Okay.
I think they're
He
great.
wants to show his...
Oh, yeah, the jeans, yeah.
I honestly, and this is no disrespect to the show,
You give the man some space, Brian.
thought that I was doing radio. And because
He did. He told me
AM,
this.
I just saw the email. I see AM. I go, okay, I'm doing radio.
Grand.
Why would they have me on TV?
Because
I
you're
don't
very
belong on
good.
TV.
Look at you.
But so I only bring one pair of pants on this tour.
And
they're a
that's
mess.
them.
No. So yesterday I bought these jeans, but I'm just very self-conscious about.
No, they're good.
About the what do you call it?
Your ass looks
blend.
great. I'm from here.
About
Yeah,
the
it
wash.
looks great.
The
Are
wash.
they, is it a good wash?
I think
It's a good wash.
Is it too?
It's a light blue
It's right there,
wash.
yeah.
How's that
That's Bruce
described
Springsteen.
in fashion terms,
I think
Myrne?
it's a good wash.
I'm
It's like
sorry.
a dad
Your
jean.
mind-
Can I just say, whatever, just turn around there, get into a Diet Coke ad from the 1990s. That's exactly what
yes.
you need to do
Right
with
there.
that ball.
High with
He's
them.
in. He's in. He's in. Look at that beautiful wash.
I feel better now.
Mwah.
Because everyone's going to be
those
talking
jeans
about
now.
the jeans.
But you
The jeans look great.
You do. Oh, look, he loves this. You do this show
Now I'm relaxed. Let's go for an hour.
on cinema. You do the show on cinema.
Yeah.
That's basically
Yeah.
he takes the mickey out of everything Brian does.
I know.
Like Brian's a proper reviewer.
Yeah.
I know, I'm not a proper reviewer. Like Craig Turkington, who does the show on Cinema.
We talked about it before the show.
did,
and
yeah.
I do have some respect for some critics.
Some-
But a lot of it's pretty silly,
Yeah.
talking about if a movie's good or not. Who cares?
He's right. I mean, no,
you know, you're an adult. You can decide
I can
if a
decide
movie's
if I'm
good.
gonna like
Yeah,
a movie.
exactly.
Yeah.
So one
Yeah.
reviewer's opinion on it doesn't matter.
No, honestly, no. I really, like, I mean, I love the reason I love On Cinema at the Cinema. He's absolutely right because he's very correct. Is that it is up to adults to make their own decisions on films, and I think On Cinema at the Cinema, what I love about it is that it actually does parody. Oh my God, you're looking right into my eyes. I haven't been doing this show for like 3 years. No one has ever come here that I've actually cared about.
All right,
except you.
Brian.
All right, we're here.
I know you're here, yeah, but like a guest, I mean. Anyways,
He's a handsome guy.
He is. Look at that hair.
Okay.
Both of you are like hair bros. It's
Anyways,
really good.
what I love about On Cinema at the Cinema is that it correctly parodies.
I love this close-up, by the way. Keep coming in.
There we go.
You went in.
I went in. We both went in.
That
was a full lip kiss.
Did you just lob the gob?
I didn't open though. I didn't open.
Okay,
I didn't
okay.
open.
Well, that's
So
going to go.
I could feel him thinking about it.
I was
That's going
thinking about it.
viral today.
Yeah.
We'll be releasing that clip today.
I wanted to talk about the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. I want
That's
to
the
talk
first
about.
kiss. That's the first
I know,
kiss
yeah.
I
I want
had
to
all
talk
week.
about coming from Joe Rogan. Your partner will be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you did get some action on your tour,
Yeah.
cheater."
I hope my wife isn't
have we-
watching this.
What have
Yes.
we done?
Brian, I take it you're going to Vicar Street tonight then?
No, actually, I'm working tonight, so I can't go.
I
I'm
would
going to try
get
and get
some.
out of it.
If I were you,
Get
I'd
some
get some
lip balm.
Valtrex.
Yeah,
So I've got
some lip balm. Yeah, some lip
He's been all around Europe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, if I get like herpes afterwards, I'm
That was
calling
the
you.
that was the joke I made, and you just went.
He
too
went
far.
too
I went too far. I went too
He did.
far. I
He'll
know.
get the graphic tip. Tim Heidecker live. Tim's
Yep.
gotten a bit of action on Ireland
Singing,
AM anyway.
comedy, everything tonight.
Featuring Tim Heidecker and the Very Good Band. They're in Vicar Street tonight. Tickets are available on Ticketmaster. Can you top him getting the shift at Vicar Street tonight? I just don't know. I just don't know.
He'll just go around shifting everyone in Vicar Street tonight. That's
Please
all.
bring your wife first.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. See you in a few minutes.
What just happened?
Fantasy adventure to a spy thriller about a video game.
We're looking at this week's new cinema and streaming releases with He Was Overcome by Tim Heidecker. It is Brian Lloyd.
I've never beaten those accusations.
I mean, it's the first shift I've seen on the Ireland AM set.
First man I've ever
Here
kissed,
anyway.
by the way. I want to make that clear, yeah?
It went very well. We're going to get back to reviewing things right now. First up, it is Dungeons and Dragons. It's getting another cinematic makeover. It was the first one with Jeremy Irons, I think, was in that one.
Years ago.
Years and years ago. This one was filmed in Ireland with Chris Pine and Hugh Grant. Let's take a look.
Truth be told, we helped the wrong person steal the wrong thing. We didn't mean to unleash the greatest evil the world has ever known. But we're gonna fix it.
So how do we pull that off? Figure it out over a drink?
Probably best.
You need cool
To give us a fighting chance, we're gonna need strength. You got this, right?
I know you don't.
We also need courage, magic, and you. What is that again? It's an owlbear.
Oh,
That's good.
Smile on your face.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need to, really dig into this one, do we?
Not really.
Not
This
really.
is the thing. Like, you don't need to know anything about Dungeons and Dragons. You don't need to know anything about kind of like the lore and all that kind of
No,
stuff.
it's like Prince of Persia. It's a movie.
It was originally like a tabletop game that's been around since like the 70s. It has a long, rich history. There's no point trying to kind of condense that into a film. So essentially what they do here is it's basically just Chris Pine is this adventurer. He's teamed up with Michelle Rodriguez. He then travels to this place called Neverwinter, which is now being ruled by Hugh Grant's character. And he has his daughter kept captive. He has to rescue her, I should say, and then recruits a team of other kind of misfits in order to break his daughter out of the castle. Like, it's very, very standard stuff. But what makes it so good is the fact that first of all, it's very, very funny. Like, I mean, it does kind of take a leaf out of like The Princess Bride, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Yeah, that kind of like high fantasy comedy.
Absurdist.
Absurd. It takes the kind of the mick out of itself a certain amount. But then the action sequences are actually done very, very well because you have Michelle Rodriguez in there who is able to like throw people across the screen and make it look
she's a
really
physical actress.
really, really physical. And then you've got Chris Pine who's able to do that kind of laconic, almost sort of like smarmy, kind of, roguish character, if you like.
It's fabulous.
That's it. He does it so well. Yeah, he's like really charming, really kind of sly. And like every one of the characters in it are archetypes, that kind of way. Like Hugh Grant is the sort of charmingly befuddled kind of shyster kind of character. And it works because that's what Dungeons and Dragons is. Like when people play it, like they're playing archetypes. It's like the bard or the rogue or the sorcerer. And like the film kind of ties into that.
And Reggie John Page is in it as well.
Yeah, Reggie John Page, and he plays this like paladin knight. Again, like he's got a square jaw, he looks like a superhero and all the rest of it. And like he has no sense of humour whatsoever, and that then consequently makes him very kind of funny, that sort of way. So
plays it straight.
Yeah. Exactly, he plays it straight to everyone else kind of taking the mick.
Just kind of how he plays most things. Like we saw in The Grey Man, he was very straight as well. You were like, Reggae John, that's what you do,
That's kind of what you're doing. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think all of the casting of it, it's playing to everyone's strengths. Which makes it so much more fun to watch.
So sit back and just let it.
Take it all in, take it all in.
And then go, that's ours. It was filmed in Belfast, so we'll claim it, obviously, as one of our own. That's out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what are you going to give Dungeons and Dragons?
I will give it 4 popcorn bags out of 5.
That is excellent.
Yeah.
I really want to see it. And it's one for all the family, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can, young, old, whatever, you can get something out of it. It's really, really good.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
And next up, we're finding out... Oh, no, that's the read for the next item. We're going to look at Tetris. Have a look at this.
I'm trying to tell us about good.
It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I played for 5 minutes. I still see falling blocks in my dreams. It's poetry, art and math, all working in magical synchronicity. It's the perfect game. Tetris?
Tetris.
Tetris. Tetris.
Tetris. I don't get it.
Tetris.
Did you get it?
Tetris?
Did you get it?
Yes.
So this is an Apple Plus. It's a streaming series.
No, it's a movie.
Oh, it is a movie.
It's a movie. It's a movie. It's a movie. It's directed by John S. Baird, who did Stan and Ollie, if you remember, which was filmed there, which kind of thing. It essentially tells the story of the kind of the complex legal battle to secure the rights to Tetris. Tetris was originally made in the Soviet Union by this computer programmer in a Soviet Union computer lab, and essentially there was this like web of licensing deals done, and that's what the film tries to unravel. Taron Egerton's character plays this entrepreneur who tries to license the rights to Tetris to the Game Boy, which they think is going to be the next big thing, and sure enough, it ends up being the next
Yeah.
big thing. So he travels to Moscow to meet with Alexei Bajitnov, who's played by this Russian actor, and Nikita Yamranov is his name. And he then realises that actually, no, he doesn't have the rights that he thought he has, and then there's a lot of legal to and fro, and the KGB get involved, the Central Committee of the Soviet Union get involved, even Mikhail Gorbachev gets involved. I mean, like, you know, Robert Maxwell, you know, the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, was involved in this story as well, because, you know, he actually originally thought he had bought the rights to Tetris as well. And the film kind of covers his involvement. It covers, like, you know, obviously the pension scandal that he was involved with as well. Like, you can see what they're going for. Like, they're obviously clearly trying to kind of ape The Social Network, you know, as in a complex legal deal and, like, people kind of backstabbing each other and kind of turning it into a political thriller or whatever. The problem with this is that it doesn't really know what it wants to be, because on the one hand, you think it's this, like, really kind of popcorn, fizzy thriller. And then on the other hand, it's very kind of, you know, austere, and, like, they're walking around Moscow, and it's almost kind of turns into a political drama.
Is he good as Tarn? He's a great actor.
He is a great actor, to be fair. That's the thing, I will say. Like, he's very, very committed. Like, you never see him kind of doing anything kind of in half measures. Like, even Rocket Man, he was brilliant in it. And he should have been nominated and he should have won for it. But in this, he's just kind of playing a really chipper, upbeat kind of character. There's no real kind of definition to any of it. So it's okay, it's not great.
Much like the founder about McDonald's. Air about Nike. It's like, do I care about these brands?
That's it. I mean, the whole idea is that the characters involved in it are supposed to get you kind of interested, but it doesn't really kind of work, because it's almost like they're caricatures, for example. Like when they meet the KGB guy, he's like slick back hair and he's like smoking a cigarette with leather gloves on.
What are you going to give it?
2.5 out of 5.
Okay, 2.5, right. Let's move on very quickly. This is Beef. What is it? It's on Netflix. What's this about?
It's on Netflix. It's starting next week. Ali Wong and Stephen Yeun is in it. It's about two people who get involved in a road rage incident, and then it just completely spirals out of control and it turns into this, like, tit-for-tat thing. She's an entrepreneur who's about to sell her kind of lifestyle brand to this conglomerate. He's this contractor who's just completely down on his luck. And it's that thing of, like, they're both actually have more in common than they realise, but they just start fighting with each other constantly, and it becomes this whole web of, like, just pranks and all the rest of it. It's brilliant, though. I loved it.
Did you?
Really, really good. This is, like, the best thing Netflix has put out as an original show in years.
Oh, wow.
It's really, really good.
It's on the 7th of April. What are you giving it?
4 out of 5.
Very good.
That's good to hear.
2 4s
they need
today.
Some sort of a hit. Brian
so
Lloyd,
much, Brian.
dinner and a date, baby. You just need to get the dinner. Now you've already had the date. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. Coming up next, we're finding out about how ageing affects our gut and how we can turn back the clock. Talk to you shortly.
Staying with us now. Gut health isn't always about the digestion. It's essential for our overall health.
But how does it affect our well-being, from our mood to our immunity? To tell us more, we're joined by nutritionist Sinead Brady. Sinead, it's lovely to have you here. The thing is, we could talk about this for hours and you still wouldn't have a clue, because it's so in-depth and we're learning more and more all the time. So the gut, where is it in the body and how does it connect to everything else?
Yeah, so it's great to be talking about this topic. As you said, the science is emerging all of the time. It takes up, like, our gut health is responsible for so many parts of our systems in our body, but it starts here in our mouth, so it's from entry to exit, basically, and all the way through.
Everything.
Yes.
So it's not just when you're seeing your gut, you're thinking of your stomach.
No, it's your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestine, your large intestine, and all the way through. So, I mean, our intestines are about 9 metres long, you know, so there's a lot there, and it's the microbiome then that we're talking about. So it's all the microorganisms like bacteria, viruses, fungi. There's a lot going on there. But if we have a healthy, diverse gut health, it affects positively on our health. We're learning more about that.
How do you know if you don't have a good gut health?
Well, it's not just the symptoms of impaired digestion, Alan, like bloating, gas, indigestion, acid reflux. It can often be tiredness and low mood and anxiety as well, and difficulty losing weight, sugar cravings. So this is what we're learning all of the time about the power of our gut health. And the gut-brain axis is something else as well, that there's like a pathway system between our gut and our brain. So if we're not feeling good in our mood and our anxiety levels, could it be associated with our gut health?
And I'm assuming that there are certain foods that you're like, this is terrible for your gut, whether they're inflammatory or they're just going to be bad for you.
Yeah, and we know the obvious ones. And it's not just food as well.
What are the obvious ones?
Well, the obvious ones would be too much sugar, processed foods, additives now is emerging as an issue for our gut health, alcohol. But it's our environment too. It's not just food. It's our stress levels, how we're feeling, how we react to stress, all again affecting our gut health.
So is it like you're saying, like we're looking at here, so if you have a nice balanced diet of fruit and vegetables, that is good enough for you, is it?
That's good enough, but the message I'd love to get out this morning is the variety of vegetables and the abundance of plant-based foods as well. I mean, meat is perfectly fine as well, but we're learning that it's the plant-based, and that doesn't mean just fruit and vegetables. That's like nuts and seeds, beans and lentils, spices, and they're talking now about 30 varieties per week. So it's great if we're eating fruit and vegetables, but if it's the same 3 or 4 or 5 every week, then we're not getting, because we need to feed the diversity. We need to have different types of cultures down there.
Yeah.
I suppose that's true, because people are, I suppose, and I'd be the same, buying the same. I'll buy broccoli and Brussels sprouts, whatever, and that's all I'll buy. I won't diversify into other things.
Yeah, and that's why it's not just when you're not feeling well to do this. This is what's great about the gut health, that if you get that variety in there, what happens is it's a lot to do with the fibre in these foods that gets converted to short-chain fatty acids that decreases inflammation, which is a positive effect on our overall health. So, yeah, I want to make the point that we always think about health, about giving up stuff and removing stuff. This is all about adding in stuff. And if we eat in seasons, that's a great way of doing it. You know,
that
naturally.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, what the season?
The season.
Move
with the
seasons.
seasons. Yeah.
What's out there. So you have some stuff here.
Yeah. So I mean, we're so lucky in this country. We have an abundance of really healthful foods in seasons right now. And then there's foods that called probiotic foods and prebiotic foods.
Yes.
So the prebiotic foods will nourish and feed the good bacteria, and the probiotic foods have live cultures in them that would help as well to populate the gut with good bacteria.
What's the prebiotic then?
So these guys here, like bananas and leeks.
Right,
These
and
are
onions
and garlic really help to kind of nourish and feed and populate the gut bacteria. Yeah. Prebiotics, yeah.
And then because we always hear, it's used all the time in advertising now, prebiotic and probiotic and all that kind of stuff. But there are natural pre and probiotics. So what are these the pro?
And then we have like yogurt, kefir, fermented foods like kombucha. Have you heard of that? That's sauerkraut.
It's
they're not.
It's horrible.
Yeah, for some, and yogurt are naturally in this country a very high quality dairy produce. So yogurt is really good, live cultures and that as well. But we don't want too much sugar added to it, ideally. Yeah. But even if you're having your cereal in the morning, having some yogurt in it or fresh berries, all bring down inflammation. So antioxidants, the colour again, all really helpful for our gut health.
Now this inflammation that we have in our gut, obviously that is going to have ripple effects, if it's connected to absolutely everything. Yeah. And there's something about inflammaging.
Yeah,
is that a thing? Did I read that right?
That's true. Inflammaging. It's associated with I suppose, as we age, there is a tendency towards more inflammation in our systems, chronic low-grade inflammation. But then if we have a good gut health, we can bring down that inflammation. Okay. So it's not inevitable that we have to experience all the negative symptoms of ageing if we have a good gut bacteria. So gut dysbiosis is associated with inflammaging as well.
Dysbiosis?
Yeah, so the imbalance between our good and our bad bacteria.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can accelerate ageing.
Or if we can't get this, or we're just not into foodies, do supplements help?
Yeah, so say I often talk about when it comes to supplements, if we're not feeling well, we'll say 8 or 9 out of 10 is when you're feeling good, you have energy. I work a lot with elite athletes. They need to be pre-competition, they need to be high performance mode, looking after themselves, hydrating, fueling, recovering. We're not all of us are able to be like that all the time. No. I see clients at 3 out of 10, they're overwhelmed, they're experiencing lots of different symptoms, they're not able to really look after themselves. They know what they should be doing, but they're not able to. So I have to have an understanding of that, and that's where I think supplements can really be helpful. When you're not feeling well, and you can add them in and they can help to boost your health and boost your energy so you can get to where you need to. So, I mean, probiotics can be for babies, for teenagers here, for adults, and they're really good after a course of antibiotics as well, which isn't always helpful for our gut bacteria.
A lot of the time it can be, though, because I know that the science is still working through when it comes to an awful lot of the supplements on this. And a lot of them can be, a $5, a lot of them can be 400 quid. There's a huge range. Yeah. And I was talking to a doctor about this, and they were like, essentially, what's in the $5 is in a lot of the other stuff. Like, it's the exact same stuff.
Yes. Well, that's why I think food first is always the best approach. But if we're just in depleted state, we can help ourselves a little bit with the probiotic supplements.
It doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg.
No, and we don't have to stay on them all year either. Like 3 months on, 1 month off is my general rule of thumb.
Okay.
So generally through the winter months, or if you're experiencing low immunity, that's a good time to take it.
Or if you're working really hard and you know there's a project coming up that's going to take all your time.
Yeah, quick and easy fixes that will support you.
And kicking the gut, because I've just found I was useless to eat when I, at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I started doing that and it's kicking off my system earlier. I do feel better.
Yes, and I remember we talked about that before.
Yeah,
exactly.
you were the one who said it, and I was like, I better start doing it.
And also, Mary, it's taking the time to eat. We're stressing ourselves, we're eating on the run.
Yeah.
We should be like, ideally, guess how many times we should be chewing our food?
Oh, I know, it's a ridiculous number, isn't it? 27 times or something.
Yeah, about 32 times we should be chewing our food.
Everything you should chew.
So it should be nearly like
times.
liquid. So you can imagine the strain some of us are putting on our gut when we're rushing and eating.
It into us.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody said to me that I turned off steak because someone said like it stays in your gut for maybe a day and a bit.
I think we have to do more in this because we haven't even gotten into like the proper bloating, because I know that is an issue for so many people. They're like, they can't get away with it. We'll hopefully talk to you again about this.
Yeah,
hopefully. Sinead Bradbury, people can find you online. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate it.
Now, coming up on tomorrow's show, the controversial eviction ban lifts tomorrow when we're discussing that topic.
We'll also be remembering the late Amy Winehouse and reminiscing with a woman who knew her very well. It's her best friend will be on the show tomorrow.
And Irish fashion designer Helen Steele will be stopping by, and there's matcha brownies for lunch. What are matcha brownies?
Oh, she's saying good. She's got a clap for
Very good for the matcha brownies.
All that plus a troop of Irish cheerleaders will be putting Elaine, Martin and Katja through their paces tomorrow from 7 right here on Virgin Media 1. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.